Cheers, good morning. Welcome to Hopefully Here Reading. I am Hope, and we are going to do something hopefully quick and easy today, and that is reading the Pulitzer Prize winner book. Now, the Pulitzer Prize is not something I pay any attention to in any capacity, except for when I start to see it on my feed and people talk about their feelings about it. And I'll be honest, I haven't watched a single video responding to the Pulitzer Prize. I just looked up to see who won because I was curious. And it got me thinking that I don't know anything about this prize. I believe it's American, but that could be an absolute lie. And I'm not sure that I've read many people who have won the Pulitzer Prize. So I want to do a little search and see if I've read anything. I think possibly Barbara Kingsolver won one year, but I'm not sure. But ultimately, this video is going to be reading this book. I have not read the synopsis of this book. I've got no idea what it's about. We're going to do that together, and we'll see if it's something that I think I could even enjoy, because I grabbed it from the library, I think kind of the day he was announced, was announced as a winner, and I was able to get the book immediately. There is now a wait list for this book, so I've got a limited amount of time in which I can read. But let's see, if I do Pulitzer fiction, I think there's a ton of categories, aren't there? Prize winners. Do I just get a list somewhere? Oh my gosh, this prize is, wow, it's been around for a while, hey? Okay, so yes, I have Angel Down by Daniel Krause, and it says it's a breathless novel of World War I, a stylistic tour de force that blends genres such as allegory, magical realism, and science fiction. Okay, that actually sounds kind of interesting. I enjoy historical fiction. I enjoy a mixing of genres, I think. And is it written in normal, I say like a narrative style? Okay, it's a little bit experimental. That is always a gamble for me, but James by Percival Everett won last year. Okay, I have not read that book, but I know people love it. Night Watch by Jane Ann Phillips won in 2024. I haven't read it. Oh, this is the year. Okay, this is the year where Trust by Hernan Diaz and Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver split. I remember hearing about that because there was a little bit of discussion as to whether or not that should have happened, but I have read that one. And now 2022, 21, The Night Watchman by Louise Erdrich, 2020, The Nickel Boys. I've read From Colson Whitehead before. Have I read The Nickel Boys? I think I have. I'm pretty sure I've read The Nickel Boys by Colson. The Overstory by Richard Powers. I really enjoy Richard Powers. The Overstory is on my list of, it's on my like TBR future hope problem. Less by Andrew Sean Greer. Okay, so there's books that I have heard of, which is, oh, Colson won another, The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead in 2017. So they're not super obscure, but just for some reason, it's not a prize that has really captured my attention. Let me know if it's something that you follow, because I know for some people it's their favorite. I've never been in that camp. We are going to, though, see how this book goes. I have the day off today. The goal would be to get this done in one day. We'll see. I've got the next 3 days I'm at work, and I have to start pretty early in the morning, which means I'm not going to get a ton of time, but it isn't too long. It doesn't look like super challenging in terms of its text size and their segments. It's definitely a creative prose style. Fingers crossed, wish me luck. Let's see if I can enjoy this book or not. I am very, very new into this book. I'm only, truly, it says, oh, I'm only like 6 pages in. Okay, very, very new. There is a rhythm to the writing in this book that I think could be very propulsive and very easy to read. And it's quite insightful. It's reminding me a little bit of The Remembered Soldier that I read for the International Booker Prize. I quite enjoyed that book because the writing and the storytelling was done so impeccably. And while it is done very differently in this book, there's something about it that is beautifully written. One of the lines really early on in the book, like I said, I'm 6 pages in, so there's no spoilers or anything here. And it says, so it's following this boy who is part of World War One, and he just survived an attack, and he's kind of talking about how he's alive, and he says, but a nagging voice insists it's a miracle, which only pisses him off. He'll be goddamned if he's going to start believing in miracles here in hell. And it's really interesting, this kind of little insightful quips about what it is to be in the trenches with no man's land right there. And I think this could be a pretty devastating book. It turns out he and I think 4 other people have to go in and save somebody or euthanize somebody who's in no man's land, and the person that they're going to go save is a fallen angel. I'm going to be really interested to see how this works out. But the prose of this book and the way it's written, there are no periods. It's all just one, it starts in the middle of a sentence. Like, it doesn't even start with a capital. And there's a really interesting thing, this final paragraph in this chapter here that says, just like the war won't ever end, like the carnage won't ever end, it's a sentence in a book careening without periods, gasping with too many commas, a sentence that, once begun, can't ever be stopped, a sentence doomed to loop back on itself to form a terrible black wheel that sooner or later will drag each and every person to their grave. And that is how this book is written. I think that is really cool, the way the author was able to put that in the book. And I'm now quite looking forward to reading this book. I think it's going to go pretty quickly. Well, it is 1:30, is it? 1:23. It's time for coffee number 2. I think I might, how much is left? Heat up this last little bit of oat milk and do my coffee with that instead of cream. Okay, we have gotten to, I'm just going to move a little bit because that's a really uncomfortable position. We have gotten to the point in the book where the beggar, who is the main, Bagger, I believe is his name, and these 4 other people have been sent on this mission to go, and it sounds like the plan is they actually want this group of people to kill the person that's in no man's land because he's not in any condition to be living anymore, essentially, and it's like kinder for them to just put this man out of his misery. And my assumption is that this man is the fallen angel that the entire premise of this book is based on. I am enjoying it. I'm not gonna lie, I fell asleep at one point. I was just reading, you know when you read and your eyes just, you cannot keep them open anymore? That was happening to me. So I closed my eyes for like 10 minutes, and then when I woke up, it was time for lunch, and I hung out with my husband, and we watched a video, and now I'm having my coffee, and I am going to read. My goal is to read as much as possible between now and 5 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, my Colorado Avalanche are playing game 4 of their playoff series, so I will be watching that, but I will be watching it live, which means there's always commercial time and that sort of stuff that I can read through. I have got chicken out for dinner. I have no idea what we're doing with it, but there's protein out. That is the plan for the rest of the day. So let's go find a comfy spot on the couch and keep reading this book. I finished Angel Down by Daniel Krause. And I'll be honest, I finished it a couple days ago. I have not had time to finish this video off. And I've been trying to put together my thoughts on this book, because here's the thing. The way it's written is very interesting, and I think done quite successfully. What the author is trying to get across with kind of the perpetual nature of war through the writing of this book, I believe he definitely succeeded at. That being said, it seems like it's going to be such a lyrically beautiful book, and it's not, because it's written about World War I. You are in the trenches, you're on the front lines with these guys, these 5 men who are seen to have very little value. They are put on this mission because they're seen as kind of expendable. And so you go through the process with these men kind of realizing where they stand in the world and in this war. And then also you get very, very graphic, sometimes quite disgusting descriptions of what it is to live in these circumstances. And so I found that to be really interesting, this very kind of pretty prose style with a quite gritty and dirty and disgusting story. And the author, I believe, did that balance quite very well. There's the angel is a very big part of this book, obviously. And it's something that I believe if you really grasp what the message is, you would get more out of. I enjoyed this book to an extent, but ultimately I wasn't sure sometimes what I was reading. Particularly the couple of chapters at the end. There is definitely a message that is being laid out, and it is about kind of the nature of this world that we live in, where war and grievances between countries and people just perpetuate and grow, and they don't ever really stop. And I think I got that message, but I feel like there was something else going on too that went a little over my head. So I looked at people's reviews, and the one thing that people really grasp onto with this book that they enjoyed is the writing, and I do agree with that. I think the style of it was done very interestingly. I think there are a couple of metaphors that are used very nicely. There's a game of rock, paper, scissors that you don't think too much about until you're getting later on the book and you realize what is actually being said about this game of rock, paper, scissors. But I wasn't finding in reviews people talking about kind of the messaging behind the book any deeper than what I seem to have gotten out of it. And so then I went to an interview from the author. And the person who was interviewing the author, unfortunately, wasn't really asking the questions that I wanted to have answered. So I don't know what to do with this book. I can see why it would win a prize. I think the way it's done was done successfully. I can understand why there would be accolades behind this book. But in terms of the actual story of the book, I'm still a little at loss. I'm not going to lie on it. I'm not sure who I would recommend this to. I don't know who the reader is for this book. Because if somebody was to come to me and say, hey, I want something historical fiction in World War I don't think this is where I would send it. I guess it's for somebody who is looking for something a little different, who wants kind of a story but written in a different way, maybe. I'm not totally sure. So tell me, if you have read this book, what were your initial thoughts? I'm not talking about after you've had time to mull on it and think on it. Like, what were your initial thoughts while you were reading this book? Did you enjoy yourself? Because I can see this being a very divisive book, and I'm curious to know where people stand on it. But in terms of the story, there are 2 characters, particularly Bagger and Arno, and I enjoyed following their story. I think Bagger is a really complex character. He's clearly somebody who the persona he puts out is very different from the persona that he actually is, and he does that for his own kind of protection, and you see it even before the war, what he's kind of doing to protect himself. And I thought as a character that you're following, that was really interesting, because you're definitely kind of dealing with so many dichotomies in this world, right? Like, you've got this angel, so you've got this heaven and hell thing, you've got this guy, good and evil, like all these different opposing things are part of this book, and I found that to be interesting. And you definitely see that in the characters. You see that in all the characters that you follow, kind of these push and pull of these men who are, do they believe that they're fighting for the right thing? Do they not believe that they're fighting for the right thing? What are their motivating factors for choosing to be at war? That sort of thing. It's quite interesting. And so I would say that in terms of the characters you're following, it definitely does help push the narrative, because they are interesting characters, and how kind of this group of 5 men who come out to save this angel, it's just really interesting in that capacity. It's ultimately just about the messaging that I think I was left feeling a little like, about I wasn't sure that I was getting everything. But there you have it. I have now read the Pulitzer Prize winner for 2026, and I'm glad I did. I think that it was a very nice introduction sort of to it. I think it was, in terms of a prize, it was good. It was a good way to get through it. And after looking through the list, it's some books that I have loved have won. So I think it's a prize that I could definitely get behind. It's just, there are so many literary prizes in this world that I don't know that becoming a Pulitzer Prize follower is on my calendar, on my bingo card for the next 5 years of my life, but who knows. But there you have it. I hope you all have lovely days. I am going to go get mine started. Bye.